Well, I think we all just got played there, didn't we? Jake Paul and his brother Logan have known to be scammers in the past, and this was no different. I mean, I don't really know where to start with this fight. First off, the fight itself was crap. It was bad. Mike Tyson looked every little bit of 58 years old in there, and this is no disrespect to Mike Tyson, by the way. He cannot help that he's 58 years old. In fact, he looked okay for his age, and all things considered, but this fight shouldn't have happened. Let's start off with the fight itself. So Mike Tyson came out in the first round and actually looked pretty decent. He was throwing with good speed. He had his peekaboo style. He caught Jake a couple times. In fact, I think on the judges' scorecards, or maybe the commentator's scorecard, he actually was up in the first 2 rounds. But this is exactly what I predicted. Mike Tyson would look good in the first 2 or 3 rounds, and then we would notice a fast drop-off, and that is exactly what happened. But I want to start by giving Mike his respect and giving him his props. This is the first round. Take a look at the speed at which Mike throws this 1-2 right now. That's crazy, and that's not even sped up. He kind of skimmed Jake. If that would have been a clean shot, that might have wobbled Jake. And in this first round, his movement looked all right, so check him out right here. A little bit of a head movement, throws the left hook, right hook, and then they clinch up. So the first and the second round, I had butterflies in my stomach. I had a tingle in me wingle. No homo. I was thinking, oh, I've made the wrong prediction here. Mike Tyson might actually KO Jake Paul. And then the third round came, and everyone started getting a bit deflated. Tyson got caught by a couple of Jake Paul's left hooks, and he didn't take the shots well. In fact, he took the shots like a 58-year-old. His feet went wobbly. You could tell he was a little bit dazed and stunned. And then he took more shots off Jake, and then more shots. I was thinking, damn, this might get finished. But looking back on the fight, he was nowhere close to getting stopped in the third round. He was just a little bit wobbly. In fact, here is the sequence right here. Also, this is the quality that Netflix was streaming at last night. A lot of the times the quality would turn into proper potato standards, and a lot of people couldn't even watch the fight. I was one of the lucky ones. My stream only crashed once the entire event. You think Netflix, a multi-billion-dollar company, would have been able to have prepared for this, but apparently there was like 30 million people trying to watch the fight. But check out this sequence from Jake Paul right here. So he throws the 1-2 left hook, and it's from there that Tyson gets wobbled in the third round. And it just seems like Mike couldn't recover after that third round. His legs weren't underneath him. He was like doing this weird like hobble. You could tell that he wanted to switch stance and do the peekaboo style and be light on his feet, but he was kind of like, his legs were locked out and he was just kind of bouncing in one place. The only way I can describe it is like this. Like he was kind of like this. You know what I mean? Just like a little bit stiff. So it was looking like Jake Paul had the ability to finish the fight, but Jake Paul completely backed off from Tyson and didn't try and finish the fight. Now, I said on the build-up to this fight, I was a bit worried that they might have had like a gentleman's agreement to have a heavy spar and to not try and knock each other out. But I'm not sure if that was the case, because both of them were throwing really hard, especially in those first 3 rounds. And if any of those shots landed clean from either fighter, it could have knocked them out. I think what happened is Jake started feeling a little bit bad for Mike Tyson, or he was just worried about getting KO'd from Mike. So instead, he just played it safe, stayed on the outside, threw his jab, threw his body jab, threw his 1-2, and stayed on his bike. And anytime that Mike Tyson got close to Jake, Jake would tie him up. Exactly what I said was going to happen. I hate being right in this case, guys, and I don't want to spend a portion of the video saying I told you so, but I told you so. And I say that not to my loyal subscribers who can have a difference in opinion and still get on with the day without their entire life and worldview ending. No, I say it to the hundreds of Muppets who've been on my channel all this week saying, you don't know anything about boxing, you don't understand Mike Tyson's mentality, man. Mike Tyson's a dog. I even had a few people say, I'm unsubscribing, you don't know anything, picking Jake Paul to win this fight. Where he is now, eh? Hey, where he is now, you little Muppets. The one thing I hate about fighting is all the fans think that they know more than everyone. I'll happily sit here and say, I'm not an expert, I'm just a guy on the internet who enjoys martial arts and giving me opinion. But a lot of people think that they know it all, and going into this fight, I seen such a strong narrative behind Tyson's going to destroy Jake Paul. Look at the pads footage. Look how explosive he is on the pads. I covered all that pads footage for months and months on end on this channel, and it never convinced me. You can go back and watch it. I would give Mike his props and I'd say, hey, he looks good, but these 1 second clips, it's not convincing. And then when we finally seen Mike Tyson's open workout the other day, what did I say? I said, Mike Tyson looks a little bit slow there. I'm not too convinced that he's going to be able to close the distance. We're not seeing any long jabs from Mike Tyson. We're only seeing these short jabs. Mike was literally punching the pads from this close to him. So he goes, jab. And once again, I got hate for stating that as a fact. I said, Mike's not actually working on closing the distance and getting on the inside. He's just walking into range where the pads are and then throwing the... And what was a big problem in this fight? Mike Tyson closing the distance. There was certain points in this fight where Mike was just standing in the center of the... I'm a little bit tired now. Where Mike was just standing in the center of the ring like this, not doing anything, just frozen. Because every time he'd try and come in, Jake would catch him. Jake would stop him in his tracks with his jab. Jake fought long. Mike Tyson just didn't have the movement to get in close. Also, let's talk about that. Mike Tyson, one of the best heavyweights to ever do it. However, Mike Tyson's style back in the day was heavily dependent on his athleticism, his explosiveness, his speed. He was never a big heavyweight. He's 5'10", but that athleticism and explosiveness, that was his main attribute. Now, as you get older, what's the first thing to go? It's kind of the athleticism and explosiveness. If you're a heavyweight, you can retain your power even later on into your career, even when you're an old man, because if you're a heavyweight, you've got the size, you've got the muscle, you've got the physicality, so the power kind of stays even if the speed isn't there, the movement isn't there. Mike Tyson, when you look at him back in the day, he was a movement specialist. Now he's 58 years old, 35 years past his prime. Mike Tyson didn't even look good in his last fight 30 years ago. Not the Roy Jones Jr. fight. That was an exhibition. You don't count that one. But 30 years ago, he didn't look good then. So 35 years ago in his prime, when he was moving really good, people truly ran with that narrative that we're going to see that version of Mike Tyson again. I'm going to say to you little muppets, yous don't know anything about boxing, the fact that you believe that narrative. And once again, guys, I only come with this energy because that's the energy I was met with all week. Was this fight fixed? I mean, probably not, no. I can never imagine Mike Tyson agreeing to a fixed fight, but that's all I seen in my chat last night. Fixed, rigged. And that's another problem with certain narratives going into this fight. A lot of people were saying, Mike Tyson is going to win, or it's rigged. People did not entertain the reality of Jake Paul winning this fight, which I think is stupid. Jake Paul's been training for 7 years. He's had a good few fights now. He's got a decent boxing team. He's a big lad. He's probably on a bit of gear. He's 28 years old, fighting someone who's 30 years older than him. Are you really seriously that low IQ? Why don't you try and take the 2 brain cells that you've got, put them together, and come up with a reality where you can perceive that the younger, fitter, hungry, powerful lad can beat a 58-year-old past the prime former legend? It's either Mike Tyson or rigged. And now that Jake Paul won, it's like, I told you it's rigged. No, you're friggin' dumb. You're just dumb. However, before I get anyone else say, I'm unsubscribing, Jake Paul did okay, but it was a lose-lose situation for him, because if he KO'd Mike, it would have been like, okay, well done, you KO'd a 58-year-old. If he would have got KO'd himself, it's like, haha, you got KO'd by a 58-year-old. Or if he went to decision like he did, it's, haha, you can't finish a 58-year-old. Also, the rate of his skill development, it seems like it's plateaued a bit. Has he made improvements since his last fight against Mike Perry? I think so, but only slight. We're talking about minor footwork improvements, a little bit smoother with his combinations, better at picking his shots, and he's got a bit more of an improved fight IQ. You can see that he tries to set up his shots, whether you think he's got good footwork or not, whether you think he is a good boxer or not, he is trying to set up his shots a lot better. At the end of the day, what we witnessed here is an amateur fight. Jake Paul calling out Canelo, Alex Pereira, Carl Froch, any of these fighters would absolutely smoke him. Like, actually no doubt about it though. And it leaves Jake in a bit of a pickle, because where does he go from here? I personally think he needs to go back and fight Tommy Fury. He needs the Tommy Fury rematch. A few people in my chat said that Tommy Fury needs to fight Vidal Riley. Guys, I don't give a shit about that fight. I don't know who Vidal Riley is. He hasn't got the same amount of pull and power that Tommy Fury has. And also, I care about the views and the state of my channel. No one's going to give a crap about a Tommy Fury and Vidal Riley fight. Let's see Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul, the one fight that he actually fought a professional boxer and lost, who was his own age. Not the other two professional boxers who were past the prime, a little bit older, had been retired for a couple of years, and who were taxi drivers on the side. No, a young, fit, in shape Tommy Fury. Let's get that rematch again. Or KSI, because there's a bit of a narrative there. There's a story behind it, and I think that's what Jake Paul needs to stick to. He needs to stick to these fights that have got a little bit of a narrative, bit of a story, in order to keep people interested, because no one really cares about Jake Paul unless he's fighting a really big name where there's a potential of that person KOing Jake. Even when Jake was coming out in his half-a-mile-an-hour Cadillac car, which took absolutely ages, by the way, there was no atmosphere. There was no cheering. He had a bunch of kids just videoing him like that. Everyone was dead low energy. Even when Jake Paul won, everyone left the arena. There was no one cheering, which means everyone's showing up to see Mike Tyson KO Jake Paul. Jake Paul is not the A-side in any of his fights, unless he's fighting these retired boxers who are doing a bit of taxi driving on the side. So I think Jake's got two paths right now. Either start fighting professional boxers if you want respect within the boxing community, people who are your own age, or don't, and just keep doing these fun fights, and it just is what it is. But then don't chat about wanting to become a world champion. It's fine to do these fun fights and make you 40 million. No one would turn that down. By the way, let's not pretend that we all wouldn't fight a 60-year-old Mike Tyson for 40 million. Let's not virtue signal here. I definitely would. So if he wants to do these fun fights against influencers, against retired MMA fighters, retired boxers, whatever, I don't care, go and do it. Just don't expect anyone to put real, true respect on your name within the boxing community. But you can make a lot of money. Or you've got to go down the harder path, which is take the hit on the money, but start fighting actual professional boxers if you want to become a world champion. But let's face it, how Jake Paul looked last night, he ain't becoming a world champion. Jake and Mike also expressed that they were both dealing with injuries. Jake Paul said that he was in crutches for like 5 days of his fight camp and wasn't able to spar for a couple of weeks. I'm not sure what injury it was. Mike Tyson said in the post-fight interview that he was dealing with an injury, but he doesn't want to make it as an excuse. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in here. He did have a knee brace on, so it could be something to do with that. We had Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. That was a really good fight, by the way. Those two girls went for it. Katie Taylor, the first fight I'd ever watched of her, not a fan. Don't like her dirty style of fighting. She literally throws a combination, then goes and pushes her head into her opponent. There was about 4 or 5 headbutts by the 4th or 5th round, and then I must have counted another 3 or 4 headbutts that the referee and the commentators didn't even pick up on. She's a dirty fighter, and those headbutts definitely contributed towards Amanda Serrano losing. It was a controversial decision as it is. Katie got 1 point deducted, but she should have had another 1 or 2 points deducted, because the first headbutt opens up a cut, then she headbutted Amanda again, and then headbutted it again on the same cut, and eyelid was hanging down. But Amanda Serrano, she's coming up 2 weight classes. She looked fantastic. She was tagging Katie Taylor with some hard shots. Kudos to Katie Taylor. She took those shots like a champ. But yeah, that was a good fight. And overall summary of the event, oh my days, guys. Boxing, the pacing of the event, of the entire night, is awful. It's terrible. You'd have these big, long hour gaps in between the fights of commentators talking, adverts, music videos, more adverts, more commentators talking about absolute nonsense, and then the long walkouts, and then the long ring introductions, and then they do the fight, and then it's post-fight interviews, and then it's more talking. I think after Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor fought, it was 45 minutes before Jake Paul and Mike Tyson even walked out. Boxing is just terrible. Get to it. But there you go, guys. That's my overall thoughts and summary of the event. What do you guys think? Comment all your thoughts down below. Also, 2025 round the corner. If you're getting your ass to the gym, then check out my free 12-week training program. It's the first link in the description, and I'll send you 30 daily email tips on how to optimize your training and nutrition. I've been a personal trainer for 14 years. I've coached hundreds of people, so I kind of know what I'm doing. It's completely for free. First link in the description. Nice one. I'm knackered. I had 2 hours sleep, so I appreciate you all, and I'll see you tomorrow.